How's it going? Really, really excited today because of two reasons. Really nice and sunny outside, and I'm all dressed up because I have a meet up after this webinar on open source. But the second reason being the product hunt launch for the new pieces Copilot Plus, which we'll talk more about later. It's been really an amazing response from the community. You're rank one, and the day is just getting started. So if you folks want to show your support, check out the links in the description, go upvote, and give your honest feedback. We're not fishing for anything over here. The pieces team has been really the amount of launches you folks have done in short period of time. I have not seen any other company do that many releases. And they're just it's been an amazing journey, and hopefully you all can be a part of it. But yeah, all the Discord links and everything, if you want to get involved in the pieces community, check it out. I recommend going on Product Hunt, showing your support, leaving a comment, voting, all sorts of things. And that's what we're talking about today. Mac and Zawal. Quick introductions. We have some Zawal because we have had some on the stream many times now. So let's do a quick intro. Let's start with Mac first, and then Zavo, and then we'll kick this off. Mac, over to you.
Happy to go first. Thank you, Kunal. Yeah, very excited to be here talking about our latest release with the Pieces for Developers suite, specifically the desktop app version 3.0.0 and Pieces OS 10.0.0. As Kunal mentioned, I'm Mac. I'm one of the co-founders of Pieces, by title Chief Product Officer. Spend my days working primarily as the lead front-end developer for our desktop app that we ship to macOS, Windows, and Linux, and most recently interfacing a lot with our plugin teams to help bring some of our latest features to developers around the world. So excited to share more. We've got some exciting demos and some cool stuff that we're going to show off. And of course, today we've got the Pieces Copilot Plus live on Product Hunt. And we appreciate any and all support that we get, and looking forward to talking more.
Sweet. And for a lot of you might have known me from the previous live streams. I will say Mac and I are running probably on 4 or 5 hours of sleep max for the past couple of days, but we got a lot of stuff to show. Not only the Copilot Plus, but a ton of other functionality. We have brand new Copilots in all of the IDEs we're using, so we'll show you a little bit of that. And then we'll also show you some of the new upgrades. We actually have a brand new syntax highlighter with a bunch of new language supports as well, which is pretty cool. It's a small detail, but it really shines in the product. So excited to show you that, and we'll get into it.
Small but awesome detail.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. And my one question, before we get started with the launch, let's talk about Product Hunt itself. It's not your first launch. If you can quickly just briefly share a bit more about what is it that you have seen work most effectively when engaging with the community, and what are Product Hunt launches all about? I mean, obviously you're getting the awareness and you're getting that visibility because people track these platforms and Hacker News and all these other things.
Yep.
But what tactics do you use to engage with the community and make sure that it's not just brand awareness, but you're actually shaping the product with the launch, so that when you do, because that's what I've seen you do, you launch something, and then when the next launch happens, for example, this one, it's substantially different. So how do you take that thing into account, the feedback that you get from the users, and any tips you may have for people who are looking to, which is, by the way, a lot. I got some people reach out to me, so this will help them as well.
Yeah. So I would say, the product launches are actually coordinated with the phases of the company, and albeit, to many people, it's kind of surprising. For us, it's been very, very, planned, I would say, over the past couple of years, ever since we started this company. And I'll actually show this in our demo. The way we think about things is in a sequence of phases, right? And they're building blocks which build onto the next. But what happens is, once you accomplish another phase, the next phase is kind of designed to be a step function, right? A multiple fold step function of the previous phase. And so we did a Product Hunt launch with our phase one, which was just, hey, we've got this snippet manager. For us, it was the foundation of much more, but for others, let's see what it is. Let's get it out there. Let's get feedback and let's understand, how it's starting to benchmark. And so I think that the Product Hunt is the ecosystem where we are putting out our most bleeding edge stuff. And we are getting, just kind of raw engagement, raw feedback, and raw trial. And I think if you looked at phase one and then phase two, phase one was about people saving to pieces, and we'll show you that. And then phase two was about generating things to save, right? So with conversation, you ask a question about some code, it gives you some code, and you might want to save from that conversation. And now phase three, which is another step function, is actually an improvement on step one, which is, to save something, you actually have to realize you might need this later. And that's a conscious activity, a conscious notice, if you will. And so we said, oftentimes developers, they don't realize they should have saved something until they realize they didn't. And so for the last 11 months, we've been building this system that can identify across your entire operating system what you might need later and proactively save that for you. And so, phase three is this idea that Pieces is now starting to do work for you. I will say we probably will have one more Product Hunt launch at the end of the year, which is phase four. And that's even a whole nother step function, which won't even be about conversational co-pilots. It'll actually be completely proactive. Think about it in the idea of like a heads up display or a feed. But happy to show some of that stuff as well. We'll take you through the phases. We'll show you kind of how this goes. And I just think that Product Hunt is a really good way to create compression within the community and just get as authentic feedback as possible. And the community around Product Hunt is open to people trying things, right? And I think that's really important to us is we want to try them and then we want to see how it goes. So, yeah.
Yeah, other thing is congrats on the funding. That was also very happy. Do you want to share a bit more about that? Maybe
Sure.
Mark, you can follow up.
Sure.
Yeah. So, of course, we are a venture-backed startup, and ironically, we actually closed our funding round. I believe it was in early March, late February, or something like that. And we decided to announce that with this kind of phase three here, the Workstream Copilot and the Copilot Plus. And so, we had a good amount of institutional capital from our lead, Drive Capital, which is up in Columbus. They're pretty awesome, but the kind of co-founders of Drive are very notably associated with the LinkedIn kind of boom, which was awesome. And so they're wonderful investors for us. They really understand where we're going, and they also understand the patience that is needed to build such a very wonderful investment strategy. But so that's kind of where we're at. And it was a substantial round. I mean, I would say all in all, the amount of capital that was kind of calculated at this funding round was $13.5 million. So we'll be around at least until 2026. Although ironically, we are looking at a potential Series A2 with some very interesting partners. And then we will do our Series B probably early next year. So in addition to product, it is a full-time job, fundraising and making sure, payroll can get ran. And I know the product is free right now, and that's one of the reasons, but we're also sprinting to build some really amazing paid features for teams and enterprise coming out in September. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, not too much to add on there. I mean, I think that we're really excited to announce the Series A fundraising. I think that we're equally excited to announce what that means for our users and our user community. And the big, benefit that we have being venture backed is we're able to really put a lot of focus and emphasis on building a truly world-class product without necessarily having to worry about, all the monetization and fundraising or revenue aspects of that right now. It's all oriented around how can we build the best product for developers and be the most helpful to them. And that's where all that user feedback and that, really centralized mission across the entire team is, feedback first, feedback oriented is let's get things out, let's work with our users, let's talk to them, and let's fold that feedback into what we're going to build next. And the fundraising never stops. Savo alluded to it keeps going. And yeah, we'll have more exciting stuff to announce here in the near future. But until then, there's no shortage of work to be done. Fundraising, it's very exciting, but it marks a start and a start of a lot of work that we need to do. And,
oh yeah, late nights, PowerPoint decks, financials,
projections, product strategy, all kinds of stuff. But it's exciting,
I would say. Yeah.
What's that?
Good problems to have.
Yeah, it's good problems to have, but it does take a good amount of work, as expected. I mean, I would say I was probably off the map for December and most of January, and then a good amount of February, just trying to get that done. And then, once we have the term sheet, then, Mac definitely kicks in and we work with our lawyers and we, get everything T's crossed, I's dotted, all the legal stuff good to go. And we get it closed. So you have fundraising, you have the term sheet, and then you have closing. And all three of those are very, very intense activities for sure.
And then as soon as the money hits the bank, it's now time to deploy, right? Start to execute on that vision and put that capital to work. And so you've got things like hiring that start, and of course, an acceleration of product development. So it's no shortage of work and a little bit of chaos in the process. So
but chaos and pressure makes diamonds, and we're excited to show you a diamond here right now.
A couple of sweet looking diamonds today.
Yeah. So we just crossed 200 live viewers. I think right now. Salvo, you want to go first?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll jump into it. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. Cool. Fantastic. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and start us out with our Series A kind of partner presentation with a very particular slide here, which are those phases that I talked about. And so basically, as I mentioned, phase one was all about developers being able to save something to pieces. And, when I talk about saving something to pieces, I'm more so talking about kind of capturing something that represents a larger context. And so if you think about it, like developers, they work across these three major pillars: the browser, the IDE, and their collaborative environments. And so they're researching and problem solving in the browser, they're writing code in their IDE, and then they're collaborating with their teammates. They're sending screenshots of errors, screenshots of sample code, whatever else. And all three of these environments provide really, really interesting context that represents work in progress journey. It's how code got written. And so for us, for developers, our goal is to half remember something and look up the rest. And so to half remember it is like, okay, I remember it was a snippet about an image picker, and then I can go to pieces, find it, go to the origin site, and so on. So I'll go ahead and show you really where this began a couple of years ago, and then where we were with phase two and where we're at now with the workstream pattern engine, live context, and everything that we just released. So as a lot of developers do, they kind of start out their day. Maybe they're on GitHub. Maybe they're looking at some open source packages. Maybe they're just kind of jumping around and getting back into it. Or maybe they're doing some research for some stuff that's coming up. So I'll tell you, we use Dart. And so we use a good amount of open source packages from pub.dev. And I can find one for an image picker. Maybe we're working on implementing some more support for images. And so, as a developer, I'm just going to kind of go through some of this documentation. We can see, here's some interesting snippets around handling it on Mac OS, Linux, and Windows. And I might want to save this. So, for most of my life, and I've been writing code for over a decade now, and I'll go ahead and show you, this is what it looked like to save code snippets. I'll open up my Notes app. I'll go ahead and create a new note, and I'll paste that in there, right? And that's a pretty crude experience. I have to do a lot of work to label it, organize it, tag it, title it, kind of get the idea. And so with pieces, we said we can do a whole lot better, especially in this era of on-device machine learning, to just do the things that take time from you and do them for you. So here I am in the desktop app, and I'm going to go ahead and save that same bit of code. And I'll actually switch over to dark mode here. And so what you can see is right away it determined, hey, that's not actually just text, it's actually code. And it's not only code, but it's Dart code. So we did that classification really quick. And then we're going to go ahead and give it a title. So you can see we gave it a nice readable title here. And we're going to deeply enrich it with all types of metadata. So you've got your tags, your related links, your description, suggestions, and so on. And of course, you can add your own. If you like to, you can come in and you can say, tell me things to note about this snippet. And this is going to create a new kind of description here, and then I can save it and be on my way. So really, really easy to just deeply enrich this material type. And we can do this from the IDEs, we can do this from the browser, we can do this really from anywhere and deeply enrich it with all that context. And so over time, developers, they end up building up this repository of all different types of snippets. So if you look at mine, I've got almost 700 snippets in here, and it's anything from TypeScript scratch files to YAML configs to, you know, kind of small scripts that I write in Dart, you know, whatever it might be. And the beauty is it's got related links out to other documentation. So if I am trying to research this and figure out how did I build this, what sites did I visit while I was, you know, architecting this bit of code, that's all captured. And so that was phase one, right? And of course, you're going to get some really nice search facilities with that as well. That is snippet discovery. Let me show you search. I absolutely love this. So we could do, you know, Flutter for viewing Markdown. And we can see here, I've got some snippets, I've got related people, related files, and so on. And Pieces is also capturing all the context. So you can see, you know, here are some of the sites that I visited that I've pulled snippets from recently, which is pretty nice. We've got a whole bunch of related files and related folders to my materials. We've got related people, related annotations, and tags as well. So there's a lot of enrichment that's going on in phase one. Then we got into phase two, which is, of course, the copilots. And for us, we wanted to make sure that for every material you have in Pieces, you should be able to conversationally interact with it. So I can go ahead and start a Copilot chat here. And it looks like that might be slightly unlinked. Oh, no, we're good. Just took a second. Yeah, start a Copilot chat. And basically, it is grounded in this conversation. So you can see it set the context, it gave me some summaries, and it's already giving me follow-up questions to say, you know, what is the purpose of locate file here, right? And with this phase two, this kind of conversational experience where users can generate code, iterate on that code, and then save from what they generate, we wanted to make sure that this operates in all different types of capacities, right? So on device, if you're working in a high constraint environment like the government or banking or something, you might want to use one of our on-device models. And we have a variety to choose from. So the Microsoft Phi 3 with large context is in. So this one has 128K tokens for its context window. We have some really nice models from Meta. So we got the Llama 3 in there. We got some Google models. CodeGemma is actually really good. And we got some IBM models. And Granite 3 billion is actually really nice as well. So, you know, that means you can run everything you just saw here completely on device without an internet connection. And of course, we've got cloud models. So some really nice cloud models from Google, including the Gemini 1.5 Pro with a 2 million context token window. And we've got some OpenAI models as well, which is pretty nice. So yeah, I'll go ahead and show you one other thing from phase two, which is, you know, oftentimes developers, they're going back and forth with their conversational Copilot. And maybe I've got some stuff here for, let's see here, some diff checkers. Let's see. Let's take a look at this one. Yeah, so it's kind of going back and forth with this. And maybe what you want to do is you want to save from that conversation, right? So here I am. I save that to Pieces. And now I have that both in my save materials, but also my conversations right here in the Copilot. Two other things to note. There's a really nice focus mode. So if you're just kind of really focused on using the Copilot chat, you can go back and forth with it. Got all different types of context that you can set. You know, files, folders, snippets. We'll get to live context in a second. And I will show you one other really cool thing, which is now Pieces has the ability to open up your Copilot chat in the browser. And when I'm talking about local, you really know that it's local because it's serving at localhost, 1025. So you can have it in the browser, you can have it in the IDE, you can have it in the desktop app. Pretty nice experience across the board. And so that was phase two, right? So, you know, basically I can have a conversation with the Pieces Copilot. But then, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we saw a problem with phase one and phase two is that you have to figure out when to use the tool, why to use the tool, and how it's going to help you out. And, you know, figuring out that process there is a learning curve. It's a conscious one where you have to say, I'm going to need this for later. I should save it to Pieces. Or I have a question about this error. I should have a Copilot chat, right? And so, you know, we said, what if Pieces can do this for you? What if Pieces can keep up with everything that you've got going on in real time? And that is the foundation for the next phases, but also what we've really rolled out here today. So I've got the workstream pattern engine, and I'll go ahead and show you what this looks like inside of the desktop app. So here I am. I'll start a new Copilot chat. I'll turn on live context here, and this runs across Mac OS, Linux, and Windows kind of continuously in real time to understand what's going on at the file level, at the network level, and at the foreground level, the foreground application level. And it has a historical memory, that's very granular within a short period of time, i.e. the last week. And then it's, decently granular for the last month. And I would say it remembers the important things for the previous year. And now you can ask questions that are based in time. So where did I leave off with my work? Who was I working with earlier? What was I up to yesterday? That type of thing. So to demo this, I'll go ahead and open up a new browser tab here, and I'll open up a package for, we'll call it Semaphores. And so here I am. I'm just going to go ahead and take a look. We're going to scroll this. We can see some platform support. We can see it was published 2 months ago. We got some documentation here for getting started, a nice little code snippet, and of course the API reference, which is pretty important, and some other details. So now I can just go over to pieces and I can say, what was I just researching in Chrome on Semaphores? We'll ask it a question. So right here, I was researching the runtime native Semaphores Dart package. We can see we've got some implementation details. I can ask questions about the underlying frameworks. I could say, can give me an overview of its API, please.
Can't forget the smiley face.
I know. Got to be nice to it.
Yeah.
We got to be nice to the AIs. So yeah, right here you can see I said give me an overview of the API, and right here we've got locking, unlocking, disposing, and of course the constructor. So really, really nice, just to kind of like, I don't have to go and set that website as context. I don't have to paste anything in there. I can just kind of go to it, interact with it on my own, come back to pieces and ask a question about it, and it's going to have an understanding. So let me see if I can show another demo. That's kind of, in the browser. We have another pillar here. I'll go ahead and open up infrastructure stand-up to take a look at what everyone is doing yesterday and today. So we can see Rutvik is working on some stuff for the new models. Bishoy is working on some stuff for Sublime, which is awesome. And it looks like Robert is doing some testing, which is super helpful. So I can go ahead and I can open up pieces and say, what is everyone up to in infra chat? And I'll go to the bottom. So here we go. We've got what Rutvik is working on, what Bishoy is working on, what Robert's working on, and so on. So I can say, what specific changes have been made, what's going on with the PR, etc. Some pretty nice follow-ups. And then I can say, what about Bishoy? What's he working on specifically? So he's testing some plugins. He's doing some stuff for a CLI, and he's refactoring things, I think, in the Sublime environment. So right there, again, I don't have to be signed in with Google. I don't have to be integrated with GChat or anything like that. Pieces is just able to understand this is an app I'm using on my operating system. This is what's going on when I ask a question about it. Now, a couple things to note here is that you can, of course, pause this workstream pattern engine. So I can show you the power menu here, and I can go to settings, and I'll go ahead and show you a couple things. So number one, that's that enrichment mode. Everything can run completely on device, as I mentioned. And number two, you can pause your workstream pattern engine for a certain period of time. You can turn it off. That's kind of modeled after the do not disturb or going into focus mode, which is pretty cool. And if you'd like, you can delete your workstream pattern engine as well. Last hour, last 6 hours, whatever you'd like to do, which is nice. So yeah, that's another demo there. And I'll show you one last one, which will be a little bit of coding, but we'll try it out. So I'll go ahead and open up a package here, and I'll get into my some libraries. We'll open up a Dart library. And are you all able to see my screen? I know there's been some troubles with screen sharing when I'm in full.
Yep.
Look good.
Fantastic. Great. So yeah, I'll go ahead and open up this package, and I'll go ahead and throw an error in a unit test. So we've got this one. And what I'll do is I'll throw an error right at the top of this unit test. Throw exception. This is not implemented. This is a test for the Pieces Copilot Plus. And so I'll save that, and I'll go ahead and note that I'm in the native IO project. I'm working in this test file here called cross-process semaphore tests, and I threw this exception. We've got some imports at the top. We've got some other code that's going on. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and run this. And it looks like we got a different error. Failed to load some file, but that's totally fine. Oh, no, it is the proper error. So test not implemented. This test is a test for the Pieces Copilot Plus. Great. We've got the location in that file on line 17, character 3. So I'll go ahead and jump back to the Copilot here, and I'll say, what is going on with the error I just, if I can type, just got in IntelliJ? And we'll see, I am on a MacBook Air, so nothing super crazy, but looks like I was trying to do some testing. Maybe it picked up on the wrong unit test, but it does know that I was working on the semaphores. It does know that I was probably testing some of the semaphore dispose stuff, etc. Let's go ahead and try a new chat here. And I'll turn on live context, and we'll see if it picked up on it. So yeah, okay, that's the detail. This is the test that I ran right here. Okay, let's try it out. Tell me about the exception for the Copilot Plus I just got in IntelliJ. Okay, well, I think Pieces might be a little sleepy, but either way, you kind of get the idea. The goal is for Pieces to be able to kind of pick up on those errors. I will say demos are usually about 90% perfect, and that is one of the reasons we launch on Product Hunt first, is to get feedback in the wild. But yeah, either way, you kind of get the idea. The goal here is that Pieces is able to kind of keep up with what you're doing in the browser, what you're doing in the IDE, and what you're doing in the collaborative environments. But that said, the Copilot Plus, as I mentioned, is the foundation for some of the stuff that's coming next. I'll go ahead and pause my demo because I know Max got some really cool stuff to show you about the upgrades in the IDEs as well. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the TLDR on what we're building. Really quickly, though, I will touch on the stuff that I mentioned around phase 4, the feeds. So if phase 3 was all about understanding your context and enabling you to conversationally interact with it without having to set that context explicitly, phase 4 is actually a movement away from Copilot chats. As you can see, they can be a little they can have a little temperament. But we want to get into this world where Pieces is able to understand your current context in real time and then give you what you need when you need it. So you'll see some stuff that starts to set up what this looks like in Mac's demo. With the embedded copilots and the embedded systems right inside of the IDE. But in a couple of months, Pieces is going to be able to understand that you're researching a Webpack document, right? You're researching the output config for Webpack. And it's going to go ahead and say, here's everything you need related to this current thing that you're researching in real time. So I don't have to go and search for something. I don't have to go and start a Copilot chat. Pieces is going to know what I'm working on. And it's going to say, here's some configs that you've used. You've referenced and reused them a couple times. Here's some related websites that you often visit when you're working on Webpack that are related to this material. Maybe here's a Copilot chat that you did have before that you can go revisit or ask another question to. Maybe talk to Savo about this because Savo often works on Webpack. So he knows, that this is a config that's related to the project Savo works on. And then the last thing is, hey, go reference the marketing site because this is where Webpack is used. Take a look at it in production, check out some of the stuff over there. So this idea that Pieces can just know your context and give you the next step in your work stream is really the holy grail for us, where I don't have to really put a lot of work in to get value out of the product. And then when I switch context over to the IDE, Pieces will understand, okay, where was I, just previously in the browser researching? And then is there any material or context in that browser that we can pull into the IDE that's relevant to your new context over here? So same type of deal. You open up a file, it'll give you links, screenshots, snippets, related people, related projects, whatever, again, all in real time. So that's that heads up display. I kind of like to think about it as like, Jarvis from Iron Man, but just unprompted, continuous, and helpful. That's the goal there. But yeah, I'll go ahead and pause. And I know Max got some cool stuff to share, but that's a full run through.
Some quick questions here
Yeah.
in the chat. There's just some little feedback, like it has a little bit issues with the new PyCharm release.
Okay.
Well, that's a good question, actually, because you
Yes.
work with a lot of IDEs, not just PyCharm. How do you make sure that it's like up to date? You work
Yeah,
with like the newer versions of VS Code or PyCharm or the JetBrains products.
Yeah, it's so funny. Right now, it is getting approved by IntelliJ to roll out. So the release went out. I think it's already live inside of VS Code and Visual Studio and some of the others. But I think PyCharm is behind by like a day, maybe 2 days. And that's just because of the IntelliJ review process. So we'll probably chat them and see, if we can get that expedited. The challenge there is that we just want it to line up with the API. So Pieces OS serves a server on your computer, right? And that's one of the reasons we're able to have offline communication in between different products, right? So many integrations out there, what happens is they have a desktop app and that talks to the cloud, and then they have a plugin and that talks to the cloud. And so for us, to truly be offline, we actually have to have all these tools be able to talk to each other right there on the device without an external internet connection. And so Pieces OS serves a server, and that's typically at localhost 1000. And then all the plugins talk to that server, but sometimes you can get API misalignments on those 10.0 breaking releases. And so that's why this is a 10.0 as well. There's a lot of API adjustments. And yeah, it just requires a plugin update, which we're waiting on approval for right now.
Unfortunately, there's no better answer than that. Yeah. So we appreciate the patience.
Yeah.
It's in process. And same thing with our Obsidian and Jupyter Lab.
Yeah, and that's what the launch is about. If you have any feedback, you can go to Product Hunter. You can just go to Discord or go to the website. You can share over there. Bunch of other questions, and then we can then Matt, you can take over. There's one question from Sachin. With live context accessing lots of data, how does the Copilot Plus ensure user privacy and security?
Yeah, so we'll actually probably have one of the team members send an extensive documentation and blog on that as well. But let me go ahead and share my screen again, per usual. And let me just kind of go ahead and show you all some stuff. So, when we're talking about user data, you can actually go ahead and explore all of this right here on your device. So here I am in the com.pieces.os folder, which is typically located in your applications. I think it's like in your library, but again, we'll have that on documentation as well. You can find those paths. And then if you take a look at the production folder inside of there, this is all of your data. So, anything from, the databases on websites that it has, annotations, conversations, activities, fragments, whatever, all the way down to your messages and file formats and whatever else. All of that data lives there completely on device, even down to the models that you pull down. So you can see I've got CodeGemma, I've got the 2 variants of IBM's Granite models. Everything is right there. And then for the Workstream Pattern Engine, it actually stores representations of that data in the Quadrant vector database. And so when we kind of identify like, okay, here's a bit of context, we don't want to save everything all the time. And that's one of the reasons it doesn't work perfectly. We're trying to figure out what are the right things to save and filter out 90% of the stuff you interact with, and then only save the 10% that represents a pattern across those 3 workflow pillars. And so, yeah, here's your Quadrant database. It's a vector database right here on your IDE, on your operating system. And so, yeah, it's got the Gina embeddings, and then it's got a whole bunch of collections and aliases and so on. So feel free to check that out. But privacy starts with a system that is able to run completely offline. And then we delegate to the user the components that they want to have online. So if you want to use an online large language model, if you want to share a snippet, if you want to kind of create team drives, all of that is opt-in. And that is, again, because we know we're dealing with code. Code is sensitive. It has a lot of intellectual property. people have privacy and security concerns, especially in the developer community. And so the best way we can prove it to you is turn the Wi-Fi off, do the demo, and kind of show you what's going on there. But yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, Zavo.
Yeah.
Another question we have is, let me see. Okay. Were there any surprising ways people use Pieces Copilot Plus that differed from what you initially thought?
Yeah, so I will tell you, it surprises me all the time, both in the lack of good answers, but also sometimes in the presence of extremely surprising and very good answers. So I think a lot of people, at least what we're observing, they use the Copilot to summarize a large period of work. So we are looking at some of the more robust documentation side of things, right? So generating documentation, injecting documentation, kind of searching things up. But a lot of people, they like to let the Copilot run and then go back to it and say, summarize what I was up to for the past hour, right? Or where did I pick up this morning? For me, I've had a couple of experiences where, I'll be writing something or filling out a form or whatever else, and they're not necessarily like technical experiences. I was on YouTube filling out like a whole new video that we were going to publish. And then I clicked a button and it broke. And it basically, I actually tweeted about this as well. So go ahead and follow me on Twitter if you want to check that out. But it broke. And then I went back to Pieces and I was like, what were the title variants that I just made for this YouTube video? I spent like 15 minutes trying to make sure it's under the right amount of words and make sure it's a nice, title. And I lost it all. And then I asked Pieces and it gave me one of them. And I was like, okay, what were all of them? And then it gave me like all 5 of them that I was working on. I was like, wow, that's a perfect use case, where something happens, you go back to it, you try it out. Yeah.
Yeah. For me personally, it's about I suck at memorizing things. Yeah. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a doctor. And then I realized, how doctors, they just look at you and they know, okay, get this test, get this medicine. Yeah. And I'm pretty terrible at memorizing stuff. So I could never do that. Same thing, I also ruled out lawyers. I can't be a lawyer. I don't know what, I can't memorize the whole book.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a doctor. And then I was like, okay, what's one profession in which you don't need to memorize anything? Well, that was tech. Just Google everything and just stack over back in the days. And now Pieces, another similar tool.
It's going to get a lot better. But Kunal, I was joking in the beginning of this, like our job as developers is literally to half remember something and look up the rest, And so, yeah.
Like, no one really sits, like if you're learning React or you're working with React, like no one sits and just memorizes the syntax with a book. It just comes when you do the same thing multiple times with experience. No one is reading and the other reason is because these things keep changing with newer versions. Who knows how React or Kubernetes would look like in like 15 years, So no one is memorizing. And that's why I think it's always about the fundamentals when it comes to tech, because things keep evolving. And if your fundamentals are strong, then you can adapt. Cool. There's one question for Mac. Let me just scroll up. Missed a few. Mac and Zavo, what has been your favorite part about building Pieces?
Nights like last night are great moments and memories. I think just the evolution, like a few years back, it was just a couple of us in a small conference room just trying to figure things out, right? And then one day after another, one foot in front of another, we build more and more product, we build features, we release it, we get feedback, we come up with new ideas, what to build. I think, people, team members, they come in, they come out, it's all part of the journey. But, for me, the frontmost thing top of mind is nights like last night where there's a small pod of us who are really working hard to do really whatever it takes to get our products out the door in preparation for the product hunt launch and the announcements today. And we're having a good time doing it. We're running into errors, we find problems, certain things that are a little bit out of our control or things that we need to defer to later. But it's all part of the journey, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time. It's going through those hard moments. It's those late nights working together to try and achieve a common goal. That's what's really exciting and what's amazing to me. And I don't know. So I have anything else to add? I'm sure more would come to mind, but
I would say, the favorite part for me at least is, we have a very, very clear vision, right? And the building blocks take time, right? And I always say this to the company. Everything in tech is like seemingly not at all and then suddenly all at once, right? And if you think about it with new types of technology, it's going to fail until it works, right? And so if you think about that, it's going to work once and it's going to fail 999 times, right? And so I think like we like to joke about this as like that delayed gratification, right? Where that it is possible because you've proven to yourself and the team has proven to each other that there hasn't been a problem we haven't solved historically at all, right? And then you're like, okay, we know it is possible. We know we can figure it out. And then, you're at your last, like you're at your limit, right? You've worked 100 hours, like you're up every single day until like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And then, boom, it works. And everyone's like, wow, like, this, perfect example for us was this code highlighter. It's probably the best code highlighter in our ecosystem. I mean, it's up there with Visual Studio Code, and Sublime. Like it's a wild highlighter. Getting that thing to run in Dart, in the web, on Mac OS, Linux, on Windows, that was some serious headbanging. And then, when it works, it works. Same thing with the ML team. We are really conscious about trying to do our best to make sure these machine learning models and these capabilities don't, like, it's so hard to build them where they don't just like destroy your CPU or destroy your RAM. And so we implemented an algorithm that was working. It cut the CPU usage in half. And it was working for like 2, 3, 4 weeks. And we're like really excited about that. And then literally like probably 4 or 5 days before the release, a bunch of dynamic libraries that were written in C++, they were failing to build. And we had no idea what was going on. We were going through plan A, plan B, plan C. And then they just like relentlessly, kind of pursued it and they got it fixed, last minute. So it's just stuff like that where, you just got to remember it's possible. It will be done. It can be solved. And then, just understand that like you got to be on that 999th attempt and that 999th failure. And then it hits and it succeeds. And that's the best feeling ever. Yeah. So.
Cool. And yeah, some people are asking questions, maybe you joined late, but we answered these. It is free to use. And you got a new user. Very good. Check out the product.
Hey, let's go.
Nice. Community. We've crossed 400 live viewers, 427 to be exact.
Okay.
So if new people have joined, go upvote on Product Hunt. We already got some during the live stream, and that's back to rank 1 now. So
yeah, let's go. Keep it at rank 1. Keep it going. Leave comments.
Right, cool. Do your demo before we wrap it up.
Yeah, most definitely. So I'll share my screen here as well. I'm really excited to share some of this. Let's see, don't show these tips again. Okay.
We have just a few more questions.
Yep. So can you all see my screen?
Yeah, looking good.
Great. So I've got Visual Studio Code up and running here. This is just a plugin, a plugin project. And Savo he hinted at a couple things. So like if you recall that screenshot of the feed, what that feed was sort of an embedded application in your specific environment, whether it's the browser, your IDE, potentially your collaboration tool, whatever it may be. That's leveraging not only the context of that environment, but then also the surrounding context that's aggregated through WarStream pattern engine and so on and so forth. And so we sort of had this vision from the beginning to create these sort of embedded micro applications that fit seamlessly into your environment. And so we're super pumped to announce like not only Live Context Plus, or Pieces Copilot Plus, but that ability within the IDE integrations. And so within the latest update for Visual Studio Code, we actually completely overhauled the Copilot experience. And you'll notice here, it's actually the same exact experience as the desktop application. And so what the team did was we took this code, we modularized it, we pulled it out, put it into its own micro application, and then we served it, as Savo mentioned, from Pieces OS on a local host server, and it's embedded right here within the Visual Studio Code plugin. And so it's got all the bells and whistles that people have come to know and love within Visual Studio Code. So you'll notice Pieces comment, Pieces Explain. I'm going to go ahead and click Pieces Comment or Pieces Explain on this function just because I don't really know what it's doing. And you'll see it's got that interface right there. I apologize in advance. My Wi-Fi has been acting up a little slow, so you see that response starting to stream in. But it's, yeah, fully connected in there. And this, again, is the same exact experience as what you've seen in the desktop app. And so you can change your theme. It works with your theme. You've got all the different Pieces Comment, Pieces Explain. You can, of course, view your conversations right here within Visual Studio Code. You've got ability to attach screenshots and extract the code from there. And then what I'll also add as a follow-on is we've also got the same thing in the upcoming JetBrains plugin as well. And so, as we mentioned, we're in the process of releasing this latest update to our JetBrains extension. For those that don't know, that JetBrains extension is deployed across the entire JetBrains suite of products. So IntelliJ, WebStorm, PyCharm, you name it. And so you should be getting the same exact consistent experience everywhere. And so again, here's those conversations I just had over in Visual Studio Code. You'll see what this function is doing. CodeSnippet is a TypeScript function that handles the installation of Visual Studio Code extension. Great. I can continue to ask questions about that.
You want to try the insert at cursor, Mac?
Yeah. So I got to find a decent spot to do it. But so what we've got is this function here. I mean, technically this just came from my project. But you'll notice a couple different options down here. One, save to pieces, of course, but then two, with the embeddedness of this in the plugin, you've got now the ability to insert this at cursor. So if I wanted to go and implement, unfortunately, this is a Dart project. Let's bring up Visual Studio Code. If I were to just, you know what? Sorry, Caleb. See you later. Just delete that. I'm going to get some red squiggles because I deleted my imports. Go back over here. Yeah, insert a cursor. Instantly, that's going to be now embedded into my development environment. So, like I said, I lost my imports just because Sav was putting me on the spot. But either way, yeah, it's got that nice interoperability. Of course, we could talk more about how that's working, but the team is super excited to have this released. And I know Savo is just jumping at the bit to showcase some of the syntax highlighting. You'll notice this is, if you've been a Pieces user, before today, before yesterday, some of the syntax highlighting was certainly lacking a little bit. If you save shell scripts, TypeScript snippets, C++, C#, whatever it may be, there was a lot of white, needless to say. And so we're really excited to really bring, IDE level syntax highlighting. You see, this is almost exactly on par with what you see right here in Visual Studio Code with that theme. And to display this even more, I've got a small example here. This was a screenshot I took of a snippet in a previous version of Pieces. And you'll notice a lot of white. The syntax highlighting is okay. In my opinion, it's a little bit bland, a little dry. If I were to view this as code now in Pieces with the new highlighting, you'll see it's beautiful. And so the fidelity of it is better. The granularity of it is better. You'll notice, these brackets are highlighted, whereas in the past, there was nothing really like that and the level of granularity there. So very excited about that in this release. You see a couple more. Here's a YAML snippet, the code comments really nicely colored. I've got a couple of additional example format bytes. This is a Dart snippet, again, beautiful. Yeah, and so on and so forth. So happy to take it in a variety, whatever direction you guys think. Questions, but there's some of the highlighting. You'll see this beautiful shell snippet. In the past, this whole thing was just white.
Yep.
And so we're really excited what this means to our users because we want this to feel like it would feel in your IDE.
Mac, I would. You want to try a test on switching to a light theme in your IDE?
Yeah. Let's
see how that.
Yeah, we can test it for sure.
So
cool. But
I was just going to add for the audience, we're doing a lot right now to clean up IDE specific styles, with theming and things like that. That syntax highlighter actually supports most of the themes that you have across IntelliJ and the IDEs and whatnot. So we'll start to elevate that to the user where they can surface and use whatever they want. But you can see the Pieces Copilot over there is doing a really nice job kind of keeping up with your IDE theme. And then, yeah, material theme, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe a light theme as well. Let's see. Yeah, nice.
No problem, but yeah.
Yeah. And then how's the code highlighter look when you're in light theme?
Oh, hang on.
I can tell you don't use light theme too much.
I don't know that many developers that do, except for Sam.
Yeah, Sam Jones. Yeah,
Sam Jones. He loves his white theme. Shout out to Sam.
Nice. So we're relaunching that there.
Yeah. Yep. Here we go.
Right. Boot it up. Fantastic. Yeah, light theme's looking pretty good. So we'll take that. And yeah, you can actually, if you're using this in full screen, you'll note like as Mac expands out, it'll actually start to look a bit more like the desktop app. So if you have a wide monitor or whatever else, you can actually just fully expand that out and you can use it, kind of side by side, except it's deeply integrated right there with your IDE, which is cool. So I know we have a lot of users that have the ultra wide monitors and, they use pieces in full screen, but now you got some nice real estate. And what you'll see here is that very quickly we're going to surface a whole bunch of things. So, right now, Mac, if you wanted to do some search, right? So I think in IntelliJ it's Shift, but I think it's Command Shift P in here, search pieces. You'll note, whoops.
I don't know our own. There we go.
Nice.
Option Command P.
Yeah, Option Command P. You can see like here's all your saved snippets, and you can open one up and things like that. And a lot of these are, they're native to the IDE right now. So you open that snippet up, you can insert a cursor or whatever else. You've got your save snippets over on the left, whatever. We're going to start to pack this into that Flutter web app that's right there. By the way, it's probably one of the only Flutter web apps to be used as an IDE plugin. You're going to get some really, really nice experiences coming up. Mac, I would also, if you can, show the Chrome extension if you've got that live. That's another example.
Well, so I do have that live, but I guess before we keep moving on, like what we just experienced there with the search. So like Option Command P, just to let users know, when you Option Command P and you bring up this search field, you've got your snippets, you have full control over the behavior of this event, right? And so in my example there, when I hit enter on this, it was going to insert that code at my cursor, but you have the full ability to customize that. And so to do that, you hit Shift Command P to open up the command palette. I believe we can go to pieces settings on here. Maybe it's not pieces settings.
Yeah, you'll just have to go to the IDE settings. Yeah.
Settings. And let's see here.
Yeah, delete your search query there.
I don't use VS Code for whatever it's worth.
I know we use we're a big IntelliJ shop. I will say that.
It looks like this doesn't even.
Yeah, me too. I don't use VS Code either.
It's great to get started. Yeah, it looks like that's a VS Code bug there. Your settings.
You have the full ability to access settings and customize that to whatever you'd like. And so, you can customize that to open up these snippet previews, which are beautiful representations of the snippet, view all the context and so on right here within your IDE.
Yep.
So I just wanted to call that out. And then, if we're taking a look at the browser extension, so, again, Salo mentioned we use Dart, but here I've got the Pieces Chrome extension installed. You'll notice my browser is certainly taking a hot sec to load. Let's see if it pulls in here.
No worries.
Not really sure what's up with that. I will say my computer's been running on overdrive recently, so it could be telling me to stop and slow down, but bummer.
Yeah, you got the staging build from last night. You could.
Yes, I do.
Nice. Live demos, but it'll be worth it. We want to show you. We want to show you what it looks like in the browser. It's really beautiful. Yep. And if you want to get it, this is all you got to do. Just go ahead and do a Google search, and then
to our docs. This will take you to the Chrome Web Store. Hopefully, your internet is faster than mine right now.
I could also.
Yeah,
let me try it out. And I know we got a couple minutes left. Yeah, Mac. Sorry.
It was not your fault. You were really brave to be opening like 10 Chrome tabs while doing a live stream.
I guess the live stream has obliterated my computer. I'm not entirely sure, but that's okay.
So there we
I
go.
think it's so that was a
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah. So I've got it installed right now. And as you can see, I wonder if Chrome did an auto update last night for me. So I'll go to samples, the same site Mac was trying to go to, and I'll go ahead and open up the Pieces Copilot. And so right over here, we've got some plain text samples that are being saved. You can actually see your saved snippets, doing some loading here. So right there is that Pieces Copilot as well, right inside of your browser. So you can see I've got a good amount of snippets that I have saved. We've got some snippets that we're trying to discover from the page, which are pretty interesting. Looks like these might have a little bit of an issue there with the language pickup, but no problem. I can save that to Pieces. You can see it's already generated some tags, some origin site stuff, whatever else. And of course, you've got your Copilot, which is really nice. So I can go ahead and set the Copilot to use whatever model I like, on-device models, cloud models, you name it. So I'll use GPT-4o, which is great. And then you can see I've got my conversations from before. I can look them up, I can search them, or I can ask a new chat maybe about this. So right here, of course, JavaScript and Dart, they look pretty similar. So maybe GPT-4 is not the best at it, but let's ask another question. And it's going to go ahead and kind of just understand what you're looking at and have a good ability to answer those questions. So yeah, pretty cool right there in the browser. You can switch to dark theme, light theme. My operating system is in light theme right now. So that's probably why you've got that. But yeah, it's pretty nice. And yeah, just fire and forget. I love to just copy and save to Pieces right there, which is cool. So that'll be up at the top and loading in. Nice.
Looking good.
So, yeah.
whole new way to interact with the documentations. Pretty nice.
Yeah, but the theme that we're kind of just demonstrating here is that Pieces is everywhere, right? It's everywhere you are. It's in that current pillar. It's in the IDE. It's in the browser. It understands everything across the operating system. And so when you go and ask a question, when you go and try and find your stuff, it's got your back. And that's a hard thing to do is nicely integrate these tools into these other tools. Because they all have their nuances, they all have their experiences. And so we don't want it to be too different, but I think the end goal is just keeping you in context. Yeah.
Cool.
So there we go.
Thanks for the demos, everyone. And I think we're almost at time, closing in on an hour. So I'm just going to take one question over here. Someone is asking, please ask them how to contribute to their upcoming projects.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen one more time, but a couple things here. So, we've got our beautiful website, pieces.app, which I'll go ahead and show you. So, you can check this out. You can take a look at, all the different plugins, features, resources, whatever. But we've got some nice community as well. And we've most importantly got some really nice documentation stuff. So I can click on Docs. And this will take you to the doc site. It'll have everything you need to get started with certain plugins, certain plugins for productivity like Obsidian or your IDEs or whatever. But if you want to contribute to the projects that we have, you can actually go ahead and take a look at some of our open source stuff. So we have an open source CLI that we're working on. We have an open source Sublime plugin that we're working on. And yeah, they are built with these SDKs. So we've got 4 public-facing SDKs right now, and then we've got a couple more internal SDKs that we'll look to get open source, notably C#.net, which is what we use to build our Visual Studio plugin. And then in the SDKs, you can, of course, build on our own products, but you can also build your own, right? So you can get into the Python product, and if you have Pieces OS installed, that's the foundation to build, a Copilot chat, your own snippet saver, really whatever you like. And the thing about Pieces is that it's not necessarily just a database. It is a database plus an AI platform that deeply understands everything that goes into it, right? And so you can see the type of products we're able to build. But our vision is that we build products, our partners build products, and external developers build products. And so you can see here we've got all the APIs for conversations. So you can create from an asset, create a specific conversation, delete them, get the snapshots. We've got the assets API, which is, an asset is a snippet, could be a screenshot, whatever you like. We've got certain models. So, new models, old models, things like that. We've got the QGPT API as well, which has some nice functionality around like reprompting or relevance to your query, things like that. But it's a pretty crazy platform. And then, if you're ever wondering like what your data actually looks like, you can take a look at the SDKs and you can say like what's on an asset, right? And so you can see we've got all of these properties on an asset, the original format, we've got websites, when you last interacted with it, related people, related activity, we've got a score, files, suggestions, conversations, everything you could really imagine here. All right, we got a couple open source projects. We'll definitely get those out there and make sure that they're visible for people. But, any thoughts and contributions is great.
Docs.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing, Zao and Mac. Really appreciate it. Lots and lots of information to unpack. We've crossed 600 live viewers. So if anyone new is joining, this is being recorded. To learn more, feel free to watch the recording and go support on Product Hunt. Join the Discord if you have more questions, which we didn't get to answer. But lastly, I would like to say that it's not just about code contributions. You can also be like a natural advocate for the tool if you really like it. Suggest feedback, join the community, advocate, share about it with your friends, and just be a part. I think users are also really play obviously.
Huge
That's
role.
what it's all about,
Yeah.
It's all about for people to use the tool. People are not using.
I would just add, we're super thankful for every single user. If you run into an issue, we'll probably try and hop on a call with you, see how it's going. I mean, the variance of people's operating systems and the tools they're using and the software they have installed is insane, right? And so understanding how this thing behaves in the wild on Mac OS, Linux, and Windows, different versions of those operating systems, different hardware sets, what GPU you have, what CPU you have, things like that. It's just so much. And so we really couldn't do this without like deep feedback from the end community. And so, if you send us feedback, we're going to hear you. We're going to talk to you about it. If you send us an issue, we're going to jump on it and try and give you a world-class experience all around. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks for sharing, Mac and Zao. Really appreciate it. Folks, thanks a lot for joining. Check out the links in the description. It's being recorded. Feel free to watch it later on. And we've done some previous live streams as well. And obviously, we'll do more. I've used pieces in my courses and content. So if you want to see some real world examples, check it out. And there's plenty of content, blogs, and check out pieces Instagram. They post regular content. And the next one.
Cool. Yeah. Good. All
right. Thanks, everyone.